Liberty as a group was then formed in 1992 by Mr. Gupta in his dormitory in the UNIV in Cambridge in UK. And that is like many, what we see the startups being done in the dorms of UNIVs, that's how Liberty was born. Liberty started basically as a trading company, trading into commodities, trading in India and then internationally. And it was a big player into steel trading all over the world with its footprint across Asia, Middle East, Africa, and Americas. That was from the period 1992. And if I could jump directly to 2012, that is the period was primarily into a trading hub, trading platform, which the Liberty Group, Liberty Commodities, as it was called at that point of time. In 2013 was the first step taken into manufacturing, into power, that too in UK. Liberty Steel Group, as SIMAC, acquired a power plant in Wales in UK, which was a coal power plant, based power plant, now being converted into renewables source of energy. And also in Wales, Newport, just adjoining to the power plant, was also acquired a steel rolling mill. At that point of time, it was Meer Steel, now renamed as Liberty Steel Newport. So that was the first step of Liberty Group into manufacturing in any part of the world. But that journey, which was started in 2013, was accelerated by the M&A activity, acquisition of assets, not just in UK. Definitely, we grew very fast in UK, but then it extended to rest of Europe, in Australia, in US, and it was not limited to steel. It extended to aluminium and power plants. In 2015, the erstwhile Caparo Group went into administration, which was fully acquired in UK by the Liberty Group, and Caparo Industries, now renamed as Liberty Engineering, is downstream or tier 1, tier 2 vendor to the automotive in UK. So it works in the supply chain, which I will touch base later, in the growth plan and in the sustainability platform of the GFG family. In 2016, we acquired the plate mill in Scotland from the Tata Steel Group in UK. Also from Rio Tinto, we acquired the only aluminium smelter which was there in UK at that point of time, which we renamed as British Aluminium in Scotland. With this, we also acquired a hydel power plant in Scotland. So we continue to generate green energy over there, and it's a strategic acquisition in a manner. We generate electricity and we run the smelter, and the smelter becomes the biggest captive customer for the power plant. With this, Jhama Estates was formed. Jhama is the entity within the GFG family handling the entire real estate across the group. And in UK, GFG Group is the 7th largest private landholder in the country. So it's a big footprint within UK. In 2017, the journey continued. We acquired in Australia the Arium and One Steel operations, which is close to 1.5 million tons of steel in Australia. And after BHP, we are the second largest producer in Australia, or we are the two main producers in Australia. And we also have our own iron ore and coal mines in Australia. So it was not just in Australia, then we went west. In 2017, we also acquired the Georgetown Bar and Rod Mill from ArcelorMittal. This mill was shut by ArcelorMittal. It has an electric arc furnace, again supporting the green steel strategy of Liberty Steel. We restarted the electric arc furnace and the Georgetown rod mill after acquiring from ArcelorMittal in US. Then continuing in Europe, in France, we acquired again from Rio the aluminium Dunkirk plant in Dunkirk, another smelter in Europe in aluminium, so expanding the footprint in the aluminium industry further down into Europe. In 2019, we again step forward into USA with the acquisition of Keystone Wire Rod and Wire Products, creating and expanding our base further in the long products in the US market. In 2019, mid of 2019, that was the big ticket when ArcelorMittal was working on the remedies for the acquisition of Ilva in Italy. Liberty was the successful bidder of 7 major steelworks in Europe. That was in Romania, in Czech Republic, in Macedonia, in Italy, in Belgium, and in Luxembourg. The steel operations of ArcelorMittal were acquired by Liberty, forming Liberty Steel Continental Europe. And these have a total capacity of around 8 million tons. And that's the time in 2019. In September 2019, we formulated the Liberty Steel Group, in which all the steel operations are hosted. And in 2020, Avalanche was formed, and which all the aluminum operations are hosted. And there was always a question, because of Mr. Gupta's background, as to what in India. So in 2020, we also acquired Adhunik Metals in the eastern part of India, which is again another long products producer. So the journey continues. I won't say what else is in the pipeline, but yes, definitely the growth will continue in the Liberty family. Okay, in terms of how the GFG works, in terms of the group, how we are structured, the key motto of the group, if I say, which you see on the top, one is change. We talk of change because the group has been growing and formed in terms of acquisitions, and for us, change is a regular phenomena, and that's the way of life. And that's the challenge, and that's the energy, that's where we get the energy to grow. At the same time, human relations and manpower is key and very close to Mr. Gupta's philosophy. He treats that it as a big family in terms of every employee at whatever position he or she is. Equal growth opportunities for everyone. And in terms of sustainability, that is especially for the industry, and that is not just for the steel industry we are talking, it is for aluminium, it is for energy, and also it is for the businesses that we are talking. And you would have read, Liberty has been the first company in the industry to announce carbon neutral to be by 2030. It's a big challenge, but Liberty as a group has taken up the challenge. So currently, Liberty employs over 36,000 people across the globe. We have presence in more than 30 countries with close to 300 industrial sites all over. Liberty proudly owns the largest aluminium smelter in Europe. We are the 8th largest producer of steel outside China. Apart from steel and aluminium or energy, which I spoke of, GFG has another arm of business, that is the financial arm. in which we provide financial and banking services. GFG owns two banks in UK, the Commonwealth Bank and the Violence Bank in UK. The global turnover for the group currently as it stands is around $20 billion. And we are developing in Europe and US about 2 gigawatt renewable energy. Key markets, if I touch upon, not just for steel, but also for aluminum taken together. We are there in automotive, and when we say aerospace, we are proud supplier to Boeing and Rolls-Royce in UK and Europe. In all kind of infrastructure activities, oil and gas, energy, construction, packaging, white goods, agriculture, shipping, mining, engineering, we are a key player as a producer and as a supplier, as a tier 1 or tier 2 level supplier to the major industry, major producers in this part of the world. As a steel group, if I do a zoom on steel group, we spoke of 36,000 manpower, strong family in GFG, out of which 30,000 are engaged in the steel industry. And we have presence in 10 countries all over. And our total installed capacity currently is around 18 million tons. We are fully integrated steel and mining businesses, and we are a net exporter of iron ore from Australia. And we combine both electric arc furnace and blast furnace routes in production. We have a good blend of longs and flats in Europe, US, and Americas. US, though currently we have only longs, but globally, if we see Europe, Australia, US, we have a good blend of longs and flats. Apart from being an integrated producer in Romania, in Australia, or in Czech Republic, we have very strong downstream operations in UK, in Europe, and in US. The headquarters, we are based headquartered in London. And just to give you an idea of our footprint in UK and Europe, on the left, the plate mill in Scotland at 300,000 tons. Rotherham, we have an electric arc furnace at 1.2 million tons. A narrow strip mills in Brinsworth, a hollow section mill in Tredegar, Newport hot strip mill, and that is where I will come later. That's where we are planning a combi site between renewable energy and electric arc furnace to be built up. Hartlepool pipe plant, which was acquired again from Tata Steel. Stocksbridge was acquired from Tata Steel as the specialty steel. Scunthorpe, the Liberty Merchant Bar Mill, which was acquired from Caparo. Wednesbury, which was engineering bar mill, again part of the erstwhile Tata Steel Group, and West Bromwich Precision Strip Mill was also part of the Tata Specialty Group, now part of Liberty Specialty Steel. So that's the steel footprint in UK. If we come to Europe, Ostrava, we have a 2.7 million ton integrated steel operation with 2 electric arc furnaces with a combination of long and flat products, which is unique for the European market. And we have the flexibility to switch our operations between longs and flats. In Romania, we have a 3 million ton plant, all flats and a very small percentage of large dia pipes for oil and gas industry. In Macedonia, in Skopje, we have the downstream facility of 800,000 tons making value-added products. In Piombino in Italy, we have Liberty Steel Magona, again for the downstream industry, doing 800,000 tons of all value-added products hot dip galvanized and pre-painted. In Belgium and Luxembourg, that is Liège and Dudelange, we have 1.9 million tons downstream capacity, cold rolling, hot dip galvanized, alu zinc, ACIL, electro galvanized, and currently we are the only alu zinc producer in entire Europe. And we have a unique product in terms of hot roll based galvanized, which is unique to the industry. Our footprint in Australia. Australia, the large number of green dots that you see all across the periphery of the Australian continent, these are primarily distribution points, and we distribute our own product all over Australia. Apart from doing the distribution, we also have our recycling business, which Liberty is investing heavily for scrap collection in Australia, because we have our own electric arc furnace. Apart from the electric arc furnace in Leverton of 800,000 tons, we have 1.2 million ton BF of blast furnace based operation in Vaila. This has the facility to do long products and flat products. So we can do billets, blooms, slabs at the Vaila facility. We also have over here in Australia at the rate of 10 million tons per annum iron ore pellets and coal. So we are fully integrated in terms of our backward integration, steel making, and in terms of finishing, we have another group company, InfraBuild. This is doing primarily the long products, and all the feed for InfraBuild is coming from the Vaila Steelworks. So that's how the downstream is integrated to the upstream, and then we have our own distribution all over Australia to capture the right kind of value within the GFG family. In US, the footprint started, or the growth started from Georgetown Steelworks, which has the electric arc furnace and long products, and it can continue to grow with acquisition of other long products mills in US, and we also have our own downstream apart from doing the bar and rod in doing the mesh and the industrial wire, which is the again further value addition and getting much closer to the customer in terms of our relationship. CN30, which is now the key part on the sustainability, what we speak of or we represent GFG. Our industry, when we say faces different kind of challenges, we being a huge contributor to emissions worldwide, 10% of the emissions they say are coming from steel and aluminum industry. So what we are working in tandem with the governments, with the state and the community and the stakeholders to make it much more sustainable for generations to come. So what we say is the green steel strategy, and GFG from since beginning has been champions of green steel strategy, combining steel scrap recycling with renewable power and making steel out of it, and not just making steel. We are also having our own downstream in terms of engineering and going directly to the customer, and having power which is again green or based on non-fossil fuels, and again steel which is based on not on blast furnaces but on recyclable steel. What is the value chain we are moving from coal, iron ore based blast furnaces, which is the conventional or the traditional route to the steel market. We are moving from electric arc furnace and continuous casting to finished products. That's the route we are taking, and In the coming slides, I share per unit as to where we are going for each of the site. In UK, I touched upon the part of Liberty Steel Newport, where we have an electric arc furnace which is not non-operational, which will be replaced by a new electric arc furnace of 1.5 to 2 million tons. And we have our captive power plant next door to it, which will be fed with waste material to be able to generate power. So the power will come from waste and the feed to the steel plant will come from scrap. And just to share the dynamics of the scrap market in UK, UK is a net exporter of 7 million tons of scrap every year. And UK is the importer of 5 million tons of finished steel every year. So in a way, UK exports scrap and imports steel. So indirectly, what we are trying to do to stem at least 1.5 to 2 million tons out of that to capture that manufacturing within UK and to stay within UK. Firstly, that amount of scrap to stay in UK and that amount of steel to be produced and distributed within UK. That is what we are looking at. In Galati, we again have the traditional electric arc, the blast furnace route, which we have in terms of iron making and steel making, which in two phases, for which we have already signed up with the Romanian government 2 months back. We are moving to direct reduction with natural gas and 2 electric arc furnaces. And then in the next step, we are moving from direct reduction with hydrogen and 2 electric arc furnaces. This will substantially reduce the CO2 emissions from the current level of 1.8 tons to 0.3. So you are cutting down the CO2 emissions to 1/6. So that is the step, that is the direction overall which we as a group are taking in terms of sustainability. Similarly, what we have to implement is in Czech Republic in our Liberty Steel Ostrava plant. Currently, we have the traditional route of 2 blast furnaces and giving an output of 2.5 million tons, where we will move in the final phase with 2 hybrid furnaces, where we have the possibility to use 100% of scrap and bringing down the CO2 level to even a level of 0.1. So these are and that's where, but timeline is 2030, because by 2030, Liberty as a group has a commitment to be carbon neutral. So this is in summary for me on the group, where we were, where we are, and the direction or the roadmap that we are taking. Thank you for listening. Any questions? I stay open.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Garg, for this presentation. I hope you hear the applause. Are there any questions? If not, I've got one. We discussed this topic earlier, sustainability, and we all agree that it's very important to save our planet, our future. But some of us have the impression that Europe is progressing in terms of cutting CO2 and investing into hydrogen, and other regions in the world are not so focused on that. Do you share this opinion, or do you see it from a different, broader point of view?
Yeah, this is true that there is definitive action and definitive initiative which has been taken in Europe. There is a push from the European Union also. And as we see in other parts of the world or the developing countries, we do not see the same kind of a drive or a necessity or an action in this direction, that is for sure.
Okay, second question perhaps. We in Germany wonder how we get the energy to produce hydrogen, because we are out, or we want to get out of nuclear power. We don't want to have so much wind energy. We don't have so much sun, like in other countries, for example, and we don't want the coal anymore, because this produces a lot of CO2. How do you think in other European countries, how does the energy come from?
Okay, so it's very difficult to say or commit as to the entire Europe, how does the energy come currently. I will focus myself as to where we are there as Liberty. Even in UK, apart from the hydel power plants or the hydel energy which we are going for energy to be created out of waste, number one. Then we are also looking at tidal energy, which was not there in the presentation. And the river, our power plant is located next to Usk River, which has the second highest tidal wave across Europe. So that is another source of energy which we are looking to capitalize on. So there are various ways, and apart from that, in Australia, we are going to be the largest investor in terms of solar power.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garg. Are there any more questions? No, that's not the case. Okay, thanks a lot very much for your time and your presentation, and all the best to London from lovely Frankfurt.